Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome. This meeting is being televised by Chelmsford Telemedia. If there's anyone present who is recording or planning to record this meeting, would you please indicate at this time? Okay, don't see anyone, so we covered that one. All right, consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 6th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of September 6th.
Second.
Are there any corrections or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. Public comments. If there's anyone that'd like to address the committee at this time, please come forward and share your name and address with us for the record. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
I'm a teacher in town. I live in town.
Yeah.
I'm here tonight because I feel that the Southwood community, parents and staff should have the same facts that the school administration and school committee have regarding a vandalism incident that took place in June at the Southwood School. According to the police report file, one screen on a window in room 16, and this is in the playground side of the building, was cut with a sharp object and threatening words were written in the dust on the window. Surveillance cameras showed that two separate vehicles at two different times during the night were at the school. One car was in the front of the building, the other car parked in the back lot, and a person was observed getting out of the car and heading toward the playground side of the building. The video could not provide any specific details about the cars or the passengers. While the vandalism incident was being investigated, the outside door between room 16 and 14 was found to be unlocked. Anyone could have entered the building at any time, left something, or been in the building when school started. Only the parents of room 16 and the South Row staff were given a letter from school administration regarding the incident, stating that there had been an act of vandalism and that unkind words had been written on the window. I am the teacher in room 16, and the unkind words written on the window were, "I will kill you." There are 133 exterior perimeter screens at the South Row School. That night, one screen was cut, and "I will kill you" was written on the window. Nobody that I have talked to about the incident feels that "I will kill you" are unkind words. They are threatening words. Yet the correspondence I received from the school committee over the summer and the letter sent to room 16 parents and South Row staff in June refer to the written words as unkind. After this incident happened in June, staff was reminded to make sure that windows were locked. In the weeks following the incident, the front door at South Row was found unlocked. The back parking lot door was unlocked for extended day with no adults watching. The loading dock door was open with no adult present and no deliveries being made. And twice I found windows in my room unlocked. This past Friday, September 16th at 3:50 in the afternoon, the outside door between room 16 and 14 was again held open with a wooden block. Any person could have entered the building, left something in the building, or stayed in the building. I know that the union will be addressing security issues that have been raised throughout the school system in October with the school administration and the school committee. I would have hoped that after the June 16th or the June vandalism incident happened at South Row, that there would have been a discussion regarding the need for more or better camera surveillance and possibly motion spotlights at night, especially in the back and the side of the school, as this is not the first vandalism incident that has happened at South Row.
Denise, can we have you take your mic down?
Just bring it down a
Because
little
people
bit.
at home are
For
having
record.
difficulty.
For a moment, think if this incident had happened to you, your spouse, or your adult son or daughter at work, how would you react? One screen out of 133 sliced, and "I will kill you" written on your or their window. I have taught in Chelmsford for 40 years and have interacted with thousands of students and parents. This incident was obviously very unsettling, and I feel that school security needs to be seriously addressed in our schools. We need buildings where students, staff, and parents feel safe and are safe.
Yeah, I would like to, for a moment, on behalf of the administration and the principals in the buildings and the admin staff, we take school safety and security very seriously. We have protocols that we follow. We train, we drill. We take staff and student safety very seriously. When this particular incident occurred last spring, I believe it was early June, upon hearing of the torn screen, again, we're not trained professionals in policing buildings. Our first call was to the police.
Right.
We worked very closely with the Chelmsford Police Department. I believe they immediately dispatched a car to the area. The officer went outside the building. He surveyed the scene, took a police report. We also didn't want to have, and I just want to address some of the issues around communication, but we didn't want to have kids in that particular classroom because it was an isolated incident to that one classroom. Wonder why a policeman was in their room looking at a window and torn screens. So the policeman, I understand, actually spoke with the kids a little bit, had a good rapport with them to try to, kind of ease any fears that they may have. And we wanted to make sure communication went home to the students in that particular classroom, because they're the classroom that actually had the police officer in the room with them. And we, again, young students, we didn't want going home and, having to recreate a story for their parents. In the wording that we used in that letter that went home to the parents, again, considering the context and the age of the children, we didn't feel it was appropriate to write the actual threat on the letter, but the unkind words, I believe, expressed a legitimate concern that was there. We also offered in that letter for any parents or staff members that were particularly interested about it to please contact the interim principal at that time, because Molly was on leave, so there was another individual in the place, that they could talk and actually have a follow-up conversation if they were concerned. So we did feel that was the reason that Classroom 16 in particular received that letter. We wanted to get the email out to the entire school because we wanted staff to be extra vigilant around making sure their windows were locked at the end of the day. As you recall, June was actually very warm. A lot of staff had windows open during the day to allow air to come in, and we just wanted to have an extra set of kind of checks at the end of the day to make sure that they were locked. Go ahead.
I still have problems with the unkind.
Mhm.
And mainly because when people asked me what were the unkind words, it was kind of a joke. Like, was it, a typical swear or something else?
Mhm.
It wasn't. And you saying unkind words is not representing what happened. And I realize that you don't want children seeing those words, but threatening words could have been used. Parents needed to know. They didn't even have a clue when they came for one of the activity days that the doors were now suddenly all locked.
Mhm.
And they had to walk around to get into the building.
Mhm.
They had no idea. Nobody had any idea. And that's, when you look at 133 screens, one sliced, and those words written, and cars in the parking lot at night, it wasn't random vandalism with, maybe kids fooling around in the back or whatever else.
Mhm.
The camera showed two distinct cars there.
Well,
And it's really unsettling, and I just felt that, people should know what happened.
Mhm.
And staff especially, they had not a clue. And that's not your typical wordage that you might find on a window. So I felt that people needed to know exactly what happened at the school. It wasn't just unkind words. Maybe, even in the police report, it said threatening words and then the words. So I certainly understand you're not going to want to write, "I will kill you" in a letter sent home with children.
Right. Could the verbiage have been threatening as opposed to unkind? Certainly. Another thing that we worked on, though, with the police department, if you look at the police report around that particular incident, he, or the officer, did not feel it was the adults who happened to be on camera surveillance-wise that evening, but he thought the writing was juvenile in nature.
If you're writing at night and you don't have a light and
we
you're
don't-
writing in dust,
Right, but again, we don't know if you were writing at night, if it was late afternoon,
wouldn't the
when
cameras
this
have showed
actually
that?
happened.
What time do the cameras come on?
Again, I'm not-
You know what, I'd rather not discuss
I don't wanna
particulars
debate
of
this.
security here in
Fine.
an open session.
I just wanted to make people aware that unkind words are not, "I will kill you."
I'd also like to make people aware and make sure that they understand that the Chelmsford Police Department was brought in and did a thorough investigation.
And I
And
said
that
they
their,
came
and
in.
their conclusion was that there was not an ongoing threat.
Well, I would hate to think that, something like this, that how you would feel if this happened to you, if you have a wife or children, or adult children. It's extremely unsettling.
I have a wife and children, and I trust the Chelmsford Police Department to take care of our kids.
Then one Friday afternoon, I get ready to leave the building at 10:04, and that door that is right next to my room, which was open the day they had the vandalism, and there it is, propped up with a wooden block. Anybody could have entered that building. I just happened to be going to the bathroom, which was right next, which is why I opened my room door. And there it was, wide open. I was like, really?
Is that propped open for a reason you can think of?
Not.
It's not
I told the
after-school
principal,
care or
no,
anything?
Nobody is supposed to be using that door anymore.
Okay.
It is, the kindergartners go out that door during the day, they shut it behind them, and they key card in at the end of recess. Nobody is
There's a
supposed
key
to-
card at the door, so there's no
they're
reason for it to be
actually
propped
walking
open.
around the building to get in because they were told they are not to use that door
Okay.
under any circumstances. And we don't have that key to lock it or unlock it. It's like an Allen wrench key. And Friday afternoon, I'm getting ready to leave.
It's not a
and there it
swipe
is.
door?
It's not a swipe door.
Oh, okay.
And that was also open when the officer came to investigate the vandalism act, they discovered that that door was unlocked, and they had no idea how long it
And
had
is
been
it,
unlocked.
yeah, is it something maybe the custodial crew in the morning unlocks it? I mean, in
There's no
the
reason to
afternoon
be-
at 4:10, it shouldn't be.
Yeah, but there's no reason for anybody to be going out of it at this point in time.
Right.
It was told, you do not use that door.
What-
So-
Can you find out the status of the swipe doors on the buildings? I thought that was capital. Is that
Yeah,
not?
we've been doing upgrades on that.
Yeah, every single door isn't swiped yet. They've been adding like a door a year.
And I just would have
Swipes.
hoped that maybe after the incident, lighting, I mean, we had the playground burned down how many years ago from vandalism? So, and we had a year with no playground where we had, that was before you came, but, I mean, if the cameras can't show anything, then, you know, how much could it cost to put in a spotlight that, you know, motion activated, or a better quality camera, so you can see what is happening in the back of that playground and at the side of that building? It's blind. Anybody could go back there and do anything. You can't see anything from the front. So, you know, I would have hoped that maybe that would have been something that came up, or someone would have said, hey, we're going to think about maybe, you know, doing that. And it didn't come up.
Can we look at the schedule of the doors, the swipe doors, and maybe elevate that door, since if there are no complaints at other buildings, since there has an incident at this building?
Wait a minute, I think we're blowing this out of proportion. Do we think that somebody is opening that door from the outside?
No.
Okay,
Then a swipe guard won't fix it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I don't want to get into this back, I don't think this is the venue to get into this back and forth, to be honest with you.
No, we're-
But I have, you know, some ideas about, you know, why things are open or aren't open, but that would just be a different conversation for a different venue.
Right. Well, I appreciate you hearing me, and would hate that it would happen to somebody in your family or yourself.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to address the committee at this time? Hi, could we please have your name and address?
Okay. My name is Meng Yang, and I live in 28 Empire Street. And I'm here actually to represent our the Chelmsford Chinese Language School about the recent rental hike, the issues there. So my family has been living in Chelmsford for 8 years. And my daughters, Evia and Edia, they are 7 and 5. They were both born here, and they are here to support me tonight. And so we really love the town, and because of its convenient location and friendly environment. So about 2 years ago, they started to attend the Chelmsford Chinese Language School, CCLS, and they on Friday nights. So they've been really enjoying the class because they've made new friends with similar backgrounds from across the area, from Westford, Billerica, even a lot of kids from Nashua, New Hampshire. And because all the kids love or they want to like learn Chinese. Chelmsford is actually a very nice, has a very nice Chinese name. And 全是福, it means all about the luck and happiness. So I really wish this 30-year-old Chinese school tradition continues to bring, you know, luck and happiness to my kids. And additionally, about like 1.5 years ago, I started to teach there myself, actually in my elder kids, my elder daughter's class, because the prior teacher wasn't available anymore. And I started to know a lot of the hardworking and part-time teachers here in the school. I think some of them are here tonight. And we are all part-time. We all have like day jobs, but we really have great passion to promote the Chinese culture and education among the community here around Chelmsford area. So we really wish that this 30-year-old, actually Chelmsford, the school has like 30 years in Chinese in Chelmsford area. So we really wish that the 30-year tradition that our all of our faculty and staff members have been trying so hard to maintain. Our principals have like change rotation like every 2 years, so there are how many generations? Probably 10 or 15 generations of the principals here, and we have been trying so hard to maintain and promote. And so, lastly, just in summary, as a mom and a teacher in this Chelmsford Chinese school. And I really wish all the committee members here to seriously consider, the impact of your decision to my kids, to me, to myself, and to all our, community here. So thank you for your time.
If I can provide some context to the discussions, I didn't realize which group you were representing when you came in. We had switched our online scheduling and permitting software for use of facilities to a different tool this year. And as part of the tool that we're using, we actually have uploaded all of the current fee structure that the school committee approved years ago into the tool, so that when you actually get a permit, it now automatically generates an invoice for the use of the school tied to the rates that the school committee, again, established a long time ago. The Chinese school at the high school, I don't know if there was a special arrangement crafted years ago around whatever the fee for their use would be, but it wasn't recognized within the rate structure that was approved. So the generated invoice was like 2 or 3 times higher than the group was used to paying. So I did actually just talk to a gentleman in the parking lot earlier today.
He was our past principal and then one of our board members. So I was the past principal. So our current principal actually is on business trip in California, so he couldn't come.
No, that's absolutely fine. But the gentleman I spoke with in the parking lot started to explain the situation to me, and I indicated I would meet with him on Friday and just try to actually understand a little bit of the history and where the rates may have came from. So there's no decision tonight that you have to be worried about or anything. Let us chat on Friday and actually just figure out some of the history on this, and we'll get back to you and try to figure out something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
But just so there was some context to the talking points.
Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the committee at this time? Okay. So we're on to good news.
I have 7 pieces of good news, so sit back. It's going to be very exciting.
All right.
Wrap us in.
I like that you
We're
actually
ready.
sat back. Okay. So first off, Center School received a grant from the National Science Foundation for kindergarten students through the Concord Consortium. The project is called Sensing Science Through Modeling Matters, Kindergarten Students Developing an Understanding of Matter and Its Changes. It addresses the physical science and states of matter and the phase changes at the kindergarten level, so that's exciting. Kelly Rogers, who's the principal of Center Elementary School, Dr. Marilyn Sweeney, who's one of our department coordinators for technology, and myself, we participated in the MassQ blended learning course, and MassQ is Massachusetts Computer Using Educators, another acronym to add to your repertoire. It allowed us to start a pilot with 8 teachers from Center Elementary School to incorporate the blended learning techniques into the classroom, and these teachers will be provided professional development around those features, and we'll be able to report back on that as we go through that. This is going to be a little bit of show and tell too as I go through this. One of our current AP students at Chelmsford High School, Megan Driscoll, is featured in the Best of College and High School Photography 2016 yearbook. I'm going to pass this around and you can take a look at it at your leisure. It's marked off where she is. Continuing on, I talked about Project Fit America. We had a grant with the McCarthy Middle School, and the equipment is now almost installed at the McCarthy Middle School. The training for the staff will be on October 3rd. The ribbon cutting ceremony will be on October 14th at 9 a.m. We'd love to have you all there. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about Project Fit America, you could go to their website at www.projectfitamerica.org. How appropriate. And then continuing in that facet of fitness, we have our Build Our Kids Success program, BOX, you may have heard of it. Last year, we did a pilot at the Byam Elementary School. This year, it's starting in all 4 elementary schools for grades 1 through 4, starting October 3rd. And the sign-ups actually started today. There's more information on their website, which is boxkids.org. And this is really great. It gets the kids really moving in the morning before they enter their classrooms and helps them with their academics. We also have Dr. Parks and PE teacher, Miss Linda Jowett, and they're taking their 8th grade Pride student reps, the student leaders, to a conference next week. This conference is hosted by the New England League of Middle Schools and will be held at the Southern New Hampshire University. So it's also called NELMS. You may have heard of it as NELMS. So the NELMS representatives came to Parker last year and met these students during a presentation. The students that are going are Liam Wagner, Adam Fielding, Jackie Regazio, Peter Mitchell, George Hayward, and Bryn Murray. In addition to working directly with Dr. Parks as part of the student leadership team, these 8th graders will take what they learned from this conference and bring it back to their students for the and be Pride reps for the committee this year at Parker Middle School. And my last good news is we talked a little bit before about the partnership that we'll be having with Harvard University, and Dr. John Starr will be here tonight to do his presentation. And that's it for Gooders.
I love the water. Excuse me.
Okay, very good.
That's what it is.
Yeah, thank you.
We're fortunate tonight. Good evening, Mr.
Good evening,
Popoli.
Mr. Chairman. How are you, sir?
Sorry, yes,
Thank you
sir.
very much. Work has been a bear this week, but I appreciate you.
Well, this is going to pick you up because we have so much good news.
I know, I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Joe, would you introduce yourself a little bit and talk about anything that's going on at the high school, and then we'll do it.
All right. Well, first of all, I'm Joe Nealon. I'm a senior at the high school right now. And I recently started last week, I think 2 weeks ago. But the high school is looking so much better than it was. First off, I would like to say thank you to everybody who made that happen. It's significant, the change between last year and this year, just in the building and the atmosphere. I don't know if any of you guys have recently been to the high school, but it's beautiful. The floors are clean, the walls are whitewashed. We had these old dingy murals which looked like they were from the 70s or the 80s, and we finally painted over them. The school's just so much brighter now. So that's the first off. Second, we just started sports last week as well. I know the football team had a good start, lost to Westford Academy, but hopefully we'll get another game in. Other sports teams, soccer, boys is doing pretty well. I know girls swim is doing pretty well too. Field hockey had a huge win last night over North Andover. It's all for sports, I know. Laundry?
Well, my name is Manjari Mishra. I'm also a senior at Chelmsford High, and I'm also new to this, if you couldn't tell. But adding with the whole new school atmosphere thing, it looks amazing. First of all, like, I don't mind going there. Not that it's before. I've always loved going to school. Don't get me wrong. But no, somebody posted a picture on Twitter that I saw, and I don't remember who. Was it you?
I don't know
I
if
think
it was me.
I saw yours on Facebook.
It was like
Facebook, yeah.
it was like
I don't-
the floors getting clean. And it was like the yellow, but
Might have been
it
John.
used to be, and then the white of what it's now.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, we didn't even realize that we were walking on such dirty floors. But it looks so good now. And on top of that, we got new water
We got new water bubblers.
bubblers.
Finally, it
They're clear now.
doesn't taste like copper pennies.
They used to be yellow.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. You may have more coming.
Oh, really?
I've been working on it for a
All
few.
right.
Ease the expectations.
All right.
It's going to come up every month. Keep going.
No,
Sorry.
but they're nice. They fill your water bottle. And
They
then
do. There's like a
keep count
bottle.
of how
They
many
show you
plastic
how many bottles you've saved.
Yeah, that's nice.
Good.
Just the quality of the water. I don't know whether it's just what it's coming out of, but it just tastes so much better.
It tastes like water.
You don't mind drinking out of the bubblers
Might
now.
be filtered.
It's crazy. And our first week of school meant the new mentor program. Our freshmen came in, and from what I've heard from my mentees and other freshmen that I've helped, they love it now. They were like, we heard so much about Chelmsford High like over the summer from the upperclassmen, and it was like, you're gonna like not want to go to school in the morning, like it's gonna be rough. And I've heard that like they don't mind coming. And then I told them that wait till like the middle of the year
Yeah.
and you hit like mid-years and finals.
Give it a month and a half.
Yeah. But right now they're like, we love it, and it's like everyone's so nice. Like they were like, we don't get the high school feel of like the upperclassmen being mean and everything.
I think that was because what we did with the mentor program this year was we went back actually a day earlier. So the freshmen and then the juniors or the seniors were their mentors went back the day before school started. I think it was when all the other middle schools
Yeah, it
and
was
elementary
the actual first day
schools
school.
started.
Yeah.
And it kind of postponed the rest of the high school off. So the other kids got an extra day of summer, which was nice. And pretty much the juniors and the seniors who were mentors, along with the freshmen, were able to get back into the grind, get back into the groove of the school, see how it wasn't so bad. And it's a much smaller environment, so you can actually manage your way around without getting shoved into a locker like I did my first day of freshman year.
Who would
Kidding.
do that to you?
I'm kidding.
Oh, good, save us, we'll get a letter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Newspaper
Kidding.
tomorrow.
No, but it was much better. I really wasn't looking forward to going back a day early, but it really helped myself along with my mentees. It was a nice change of things.
It was really nice.
Very good. So I know you wrestle, what kinds of other things do you do at the high school, just briefly?
Well, pretty much my biggest sport and my only sport I have to say is wrestling. I also do track and field in the springtime, but that's pretty much to condition myself for the wrestling season.
Joe's also an auxiliary police officer.
Oh, wow. They don't give you a gun yet, though, do they?
No, not till I'm 21. So
Well, that's great. That's a good experience. Manjari, could you tell us a little bit about your involvement?
Well, let's see. I'm not in athletics, unfortunately.
Oh, that's
But I do love
perfectly
going
all
to
right.
games. I've never been to one of his matches, though. Sorry.
no, most people haven't. Pretty much my parents. That's about it.
But I'm in clubs. I'm on the board of Key Club. We're like a volunteering
Yeah.
club. I am on like multiple clubs, but Key Club's like my main club. And then let's see, I
Are you
volunteer.
vice president?
Yeah, on the board.
VP.
And then I volunteer at Lowell General Hospital in my free time. I work at Harrington Daycare, Harrington Elementary. Love it there. Favorite thing in the world. Yeah, that's me.
No, it's just helpful to know the kinds of things you're involved in, and we look forward to hearing from you on a regular basis. And we have good news for you. When you can't come, we have a sub.
Oh.
Okay? Emma, would you please come up? Okay, for those of you that may not have followed us for the last year, Emma's been a student rep to the school committee, and she's been an exceptional representative. She's been here all the time. She went to the State House on the Hill to meet the governor, and thanks to Mr. Lapoli, the Speaker of the House, Chairman of Ways and Means. We met, virtually everywhere, didn't we? And she's been really interested, and we're thrilled that she's stepped forward and offered to fill in when one of you can't come, so that we hear when things are going on. So that's one thing. We want to recognize, you stepping forward. That's great. And also, we want to recognize the job that you did, while you were on the committee. You were very loyal. You brought your support group. And no, I mean, it's exceptional. It's hard. One of the reasons I wanted the new people to speak is that students at the high school are involved in a lot of different things and are very busy. And so to make the level of commitment that Emma made over the last year is exceptional. And so on behalf of the Chelmsford School Committee, I'd like to present you with this. We'll take this off so that, you want to get a picture of Emma?
I already did.
Okay, good. So just so everyone can see, it says, Emma Newcomb, Student Representative, Chelmsford School Committee, 2015, 2016. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Emma. Congratulations.
Thanks, Emma.
Okay, so we're on to Harvard.
Yeah, so if we'll move to our first item of business this evening, and I'd actually ask Linda to introduce our speaker. I believe it was at the June or July school committee meeting, we had kind of a precursor of this potential project with Harvard, and I would let Linda please just do a little introduction and invite our guest
And if
speakers
you
up for
could
the
come on
night.
up, that would be great. So tonight we have Dr. John Starr here. He is working with the Chelmsford Public Schools thanks to the connection with Dr. Matthew Bayronovan, our Mathematics and Science Department Coordinator. And the purpose of his research project is to help students leverage comparisons using multiple representations in Algebra 1 classes. He will be working with our 7th and 8th grade teachers here in Chelmsford, and he's actually and high school, I forgot about the high school teachers, sorry. And he'll actually be working with them. He's had some meetings with them already to start introducing this project to help our students through their mathematics programming, to see if we can leverage some more work from them and be able to get them to understand the concepts of Algebra 1. So, Dr. Starr, I'm going to turn it over to you, let you introduce yourself, and we have your PowerPoint up, and I'll be your human clicker for the evening.
Great, thanks, Linda. Hi, everyone. Thanks for inviting me here. I'm John Starr. I'm a professor at Harvard at the Grad School of Education, and we're really excited about this partnership with the Chelmsford schools, with the math teachers here. I was just going to speak really briefly about the project. I have a couple of slides, but I'm mainly here to answer any questions that you have about the work and or any concerns that you have about the project going forward. Basically, this is a 3-year project that we're just starting right now. We've received funding from the National Science Foundation. I'm the main principal investigator, the main project researcher on this, but it's also a collaboration between Harvard and researchers at Vanderbilt University that I've collaborated with for a long time. And as Linda said, we're interested in improving the learning and teaching of Algebra 1. Algebra 1 is a course, as you know, is taught in 8th grade and 9th grade here, and we're working with both 8th and 9th grade teachers on that course. The focus is to change the way that teachers are thinking about the teaching of Algebra 1, using a lot of comparison and explanation and thinking about multiple strategies. And so in a nutshell, this means that we're hoping teachers ask students to solve problems in many different ways, because we have some evidence that that really helps them understand the material. It's not just, here's one way to solve a problem, memorize these steps, use it every time, but it's more, let's think about many different ways to solve problems and how they're similar or different and which ones might be better under certain circumstances. That's really how you develop understanding of the mathematics. So that's the gist of the project. Click. So we feel pretty good about this approach. In collaboration with my colleagues at Vanderbilt, we have published many studies indicating this approach is quite effective for algebra learning. And we recently finished a year-long study of this with teachers from the Metro Boston area who are implementing our curriculum as well that showed promising results. We're implementing some changes that we think will improve the materials, and that's what we're going to be partnering with Chelmsford to do and test. The teachers who elect to participate in the project will be those who teach Algebra 1, and they will be using a curriculum that we created that focuses on comparison and explanation of multiple strategies as a supplement to what they're already doing. So they'll use the regular books that they're already using. They'll just add a little on to it that's making this new emphasis. We'll be working with them to give them training, professional development on how to use the materials, what they're all about. That will come in several different forms. There will be some summer work. There'll be some PD time during the school day. There'll be some debriefing after they teach with our materials to get them to be comfortable using them. And all of that in support of using our materials in a way that we think supports student learning of algebra. We'll be paying teachers for their time with a generous stipend that includes the summer professional development when they're participating in that, and the after-school PD as well. So that's the gist of the project. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about any details of the work going forward. There's a press release that just is out yesterday, and so you may see that in local media. It's on the Harvard website as well.
It's on our website as well.
You always go first.
Okay. How will you measure the effect of the change in technique?
So the main way is to use the existing assessments that are already given here in the district. So there's a common assessment, as I understand, for Algebra 1 that's given as a pre-test form and a post-test form at the end of the year. So we'll be looking for changes in that assessment that are different between those who participated in the project and those who didn't, basically. It's sort of a treatment control type of study where there's some teachers who will be using our materials and other teachers in a given year will not. But then those teachers who are not in a subsequent year will gain access to the materials as well. But it's mainly through this year-long assessment. But in addition, the materials are focused on certain units of the year. We're picking 4 units during the Algebra 1 year that we're using. And on the chapter unit test for those 4 units, we'll also be looking for change in student achievement.
So how will teachers be selected, or do they select themselves for participation?
So it begins with them selecting themselves. We've given them information about the project. I met with teachers yesterday at the high school and the middle school, and then it's a choice. They can choose to participate or not, and we're hoping that many Algebra 1 teachers do choose to participate. From those who participate, we'll be randomly selecting this year half of them. The goal is 3 at the high school, 1 at a middle school, which is about half of the Algebra 1 population of teachers, that they'll be working with us this year. The goals of this year are to implement these changes that I mentioned there that we think will make the curriculum more powerful and pilot them in a way. Then in our second year, those teachers will sort of be the treatment teachers, and we'll track their students very carefully. And then there'll be another group of 4 teachers, hopefully, who will not be using the material that we'll be comparing their students with.
Okay, so the participation on the teacher's part will begin this school year.
That's right.
But the kids may not see it in the classroom until next year, is what you're expecting?
Well, I think the kids and the students and the teachers who are participating this year will see it because they'll be trying out materials, giving us feedback. We're also going to be videotaping in classrooms when teachers are using our materials at times. And I believe we're partnering with Chelmsford TV to do the videotaping, actually, which is really nice. And so that'll be how, it's another way that we check the effectiveness of this. We're looking to see, are teachers using the materials in the ways that we anticipate are most effective? And if not, can we structure professional development opportunities to keep them improving on their implementation of this?
Okay.
But yeah, the students will know that this is happening in their classrooms too. And in our past research, students have actually really enjoyed this approach. It's different than what some of them are used to, and they find it entertaining in some respects and also informative.
So the last thing is just, it sounds like this is more of an incremental change that you're making to your own program. How does it compare to the current approach that we have in Chelmsford? Is it also an incremental change there, or is it a bigger change than that?
So in regards to the Chelmsford, our program that we use for both the middle school and the high school is the Big Ideas, in which we're covering all of the standards. The program that Professor Starr is bringing in has an additional emphasis on solving problems in multiple ways, which is in our standards and in our curriculum that we encourage kids that we're going to show you more than one way and we're encouraging you to solve it more than one way. There's just a greater emphasis on that. The control group is going to do what they would be doing anyways. The experimental group would get this additional support, and then eventually all of our classrooms would be given the support. The program that Professor Starr talks about is free and online and would be available for all of Chelmsford to use upon the completion of the study or throughout the study.
Okay, thanks.
And can I just add that this is in direct alignment with our universal design for learning, how we develop our lessons with multiple means of representation, engagement, and expression. So this will be that focus on that representation piece.
Matthew, can you talk about the population of students that you would be looking at? So these 8th graders who are in algebra, aren't they on the accelerated track for math? And then the 9th graders would just be on the normal track for math.
Right, so we have a variety of different levels for it. It's all of our students who are taking Algebra 1, which is why this program is for both middle school and high school. So we only offer Algebra 1 for the honors students at the 8th grade level.
Okay.
At the 9th grade level, we offer the Algebra 1 still at the honors level, at the H2 level, the level 3, and then we also have the Intro to Algebra class for those students that need additional support. But they're all covering the same standards and all are using the Big Ideas program, so we're going to be trying to incorporate all the teachers and all the levels into this. So it's not based on any sort of level. Everybody's going to get the exposure.
Okay, thank you.
So first, I want to say if you let Mike ask questions first, he usually asks all your questions. So I only have one question remaining. So just have you done this in any other districts? Has it been implemented anywhere? Have you, or is this pretty much new?
So we just, let's see, I think it was 2 years ago, we finished up a project that was testing this over a full year, just to see what we've done here. What we did in that project is we didn't work with a district as a whole, we worked with individual teachers. And so across the region, we had, I think, on the order of 30 or 40 teachers who were in the treatment group, scattered all around, mostly singletons and districts.
Yeah.
And that's what our design was in our previous study. For this study, we decided it made a lot more sense to work with a district.
That's great.
So that's what we're doing here.
Awesome.
Anything else? Well, the thing that I'm pleased with is that it fits with what we're doing. You know, sometimes when somebody comes in from Harvard or somewhere else, it's like, we've got something new. Not that it isn't new, because there is that there, but it seems that the way that it was explained, which I thought was very clear, that it fits very well with what we're already doing, so thank you.
Definitely, and I think we see this as a partnership and not just us dropping in and then leaving. So we're here for the time period where, that's why I'm happy about the Chelmsford TV connection. We're also looking at other ways that we can be better integrated into the work here in mathematics. It's not just us popping in and then saying goodbye. So.
And because it's a 3-year grant, it's going to be a long-term relationship that Harvard will be having with the schools.
So you'll definitely come back, kind of address what's going on, how things are working.
Happy to, whenever you want. Yeah, and of course, everything is, anything we publish out of this is public, you know, any results.
Awesome.
As Matthew said, the curriculum, the previous version of the curriculum which we're adapting, the previous version is already posted online and free, and that's our intent for this as well. This is not a money-making enterprise. This is about improving teaching and learning, and if it works, then it's going to be posted.
Awesome.
Awesome. Great.
I don't know if Matthew's had a chance to explain his vast experience with television.
I know, yes.
Okay.
Very much about that.
Well, thank you very much. It was
you.
very clearly presented, and I appreciate that.
Thanks, so we're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda, we had just, I placed a placeholder for us to have some discussion on the tri-board meeting from last night, just to have some follow-up to see if there were any action items and to get perspective. I just, to kind of kick it off, I actually thought the tri-board meeting was a very good meeting, that the information that the town manager presented was clear, concise, and kind of shaped, put us in a good shape going into fall town meeting. So I thought that was very productive. In addition to some of the information they talked about the fiscal year 16 closing, we got into the 2 articles that the school committee has voted to put on town meeting. And the first one was the funding for the modular classrooms at each of the elementary school buildings. And we had that actually with a earmark of about $7.9 million. And then also the second article was $40,000 to fund the one-time MSBA application. But on the $7.9 million allocation for the modulars, you know, in my conversations with the town manager over the last couple of weeks, you know, he's really been working hard to try to find a funding strategy for that. And I think what was presented last evening was the excess capacity that's basically going to come through the reevaluation process. It just lines up perfectly with our timing around the want and the need to implement the full-day kindergarten. So the manager, and I know John Souza had ran some figures as far as what the bonding capacity would be, and then what the annual note would be on the on a bond for this. And the nice thing is, we'd be able to actually accomplish the $7.9 million bond over the 15-year time period, and still be able to free up, I believe the manager indicated, about $800,000 of operating costs annually to not only construct the classrooms in the schools, but be able to help us with kind of an additional appropriation to be able to hire the teachers and support staff that are going to be necessary for that program. So I thought the Finance Committee members asked very good questions, and I believe they pretty well received the project. Obviously, the school committee was in favor of it, and even the town Board of Selectmen asked some good questions about the project, and I'm really looking forward to being able to address this at town meeting in October. We did have a working group meeting this afternoon with the Durham Whittier individuals, and I've invited them to our October meeting to give kind of the review that we went through this afternoon with them as the whole project comes to a close. And again, one of the things we were stressing is that this full-day kindergarten implementation is just a piece of the overarching comprehensive facility assessment. And they've really done a nice job of trying to button that up. So they're going to have this will be concluding in October at some point. We don't have the definitive date, but I'd like them to come in and actually give a presentation to the school committee, similar to what we'll ask them to give to town meeting in October, on that October 18th date, and they'll come to our next school committee meeting and do that. So they'll be able to actually now talk about, because the modular classrooms at each of the elementary schools is our preferred solution, they'll be able to talk about timeline and actually how we would phase and go about doing that. So that was the first item on the agenda that we spoke about last night. And then the second item was the, I believe the number was $2.3 or $2.4 million of kind of free cash at the end of the year. And one of the things that we had asked the town manager to support was a $40,000 allocation for a one-time allocation to be able to basically take the comprehensive facility assessment. The school committee in Durham Whittier will continue to work through the fall to refine kind of the master plan options we'd like to see go forward, and then incorporate that into a statement of interest to the MSBA sometime during the March or April timeframe. So that was, I believe, also pretty well received. And again, it's not an ongoing expense, it's a one-time expense. But what that allows us to do is actually get into the MSBA pipeline, which we know, even from the point of application, is going to be at least a year and a half out. But if we don't get in at some point in the future, it's really going to hurt us from ever doing a larger capital project. If we ever wanted to do a new school or an addition to an existing school, we're going to want to receive MSBA reimbursement and assistance in that process, and we have to get our foot in the door. So that's what that $40,000 would do. It would basically be able to allow us to amend the existing contract with Durham Whittier for them to actually take the preferred master plan options, because that's the point where they were leaving us under the original contract, and actually help us craft that into the statement of interest with all the supporting documentation that would go to the SBA in the springtime. So those are the two topics that were discussed on the school side. I just thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to have a little follow-up dialogue if we needed to. If anyone felt that there were particular reports or information that was necessary to assist in the process, to let me know so that I can be pulling that together for you. And that's why I put it on the agenda. So.
Go ahead. You first, sir.
Dr. Lang, I'd like you to do two things. I think what Dorr and Whittier did for us was incredible. First time ever in the town of Chelmsford that we'll be able to look 10 years out and know exactly, hopefully, what our schools need from a maintenance perspective, the age of some of this equipment, what needs to take place as far as construction. And they really did a great job with that. I kind of got the sense that maybe there's some people that are still a little confused of exactly what Dorr and Whittier has done for us. So I'd really like for them to articulate. I'd like for you to explain to everybody out there exactly why they were hired and what they did, which was really, really important. And then also, besides telling us what our maintenance and repairs or the future of the building of our schools for the next 10 years, also they looked into what were needed over the years to come for either a new school, where they would place that new school, as far as is it a high school, is it a middle school, is it an elementary school. I think that's really, really important that our public knows that that's what their job was, and they did a lot of work for that $200,000. I think there might be some confusion. Also, I'd like to give just a basic shout out to this. This is a great opportunity for the town of Chelmsford to place full day K. I think everything is aligned perfectly. In the past, I think there could have been challenges with the money based on what our town manager had to say about the reassessment and the monies that may be available. I think this is the perfect time to strike. However, we need public support. So I'm asking everybody that's listening and watching, and all the mums and dads and all the guardians, to tell everybody you can to call your local rep, your local town rep, and to tell them what you think of full day K and how important it is. But more than anything, public education should be free. And I think what's really, really important is, as we communicate that, it's not just the implementation of full day K, it's the implementation of full day K at no charge. public education should be free. And we need all the parents and all the guardians to communicate that. You know, we went into some negotiations with our teachers, and I know we've been negotiating with our administrators, and there's only one way to start to change things. More people that have an interest in the school have to get involved with local politics. And this is a wonderful opportunity for people to get involved, starting this fall meeting to place full day K in the town of Chelmsford for free. That's it, sir.
Did anyone else want to comment on last night?
The Dorr and Whittier thing, I think you make a good point. The first part, the $200,000, was to collect evidence so that we could go to the MSBA and request funding. The second part, the $40,000, is for Dorr and Whittier to now write this proposal for us. So it's two distinct products. I don't want people to say, oh, we should have gotten that in the first proposal. They're entirely different products. So I want people to distinguish those. I have a few questions, if I may.
Yeah.
I received an email this afternoon, and a parent had questions about the modulars. So first question, are there bathrooms in the modular classrooms?
In the modular classrooms that are detached from the main buildings, yes, there was, at least in the schematics, there would be self-contained bathroom facilities in those. At the Center Elementary School, because we can actually just add the modulars to the buildings, you wouldn't add bathrooms to those particular modulars,
Right.
because they would just come off an end of a hallway. But the other three buildings, yes, had bathrooms in them. Bless you.
Will the pods be locked during the day?
They would be locked like any other
Okay.
school building, yes.
Of course, I would assume the answer to this is yes, but there'll be a process if there's an emergency in the pod, obviously.
Yes, the schools actually have to do a significant amount of planning around, any emergency planning annual basis, but now you would actually have separate classrooms from the building, so you need to make sure everyone's actually communicating effectively, everyone's in board and doing the same thing during an emergency. Yeah, there would be a whole significant level of review
So
that would have to happen.
walkie-talkies, intercoms, how would that work, communications from the separate modulars into the main building?
We haven't gotten that far yet,
Okay.
but they, ideally, they'd be actually on the same bell and intercom system, phone system that all the other classrooms in the buildings would be.
Okay. When can they expect any kind of detailed communications going out to parents regarding the specifics of the modulars?
The specifics of the plan itself or the modular construction?
The modular construction and the plan itself.
The plan itself, what I hope is going to happen is if we have Dorr and Whittier come to that meeting on October 2nd, I believe it is, and they give a little update to the school committee, that's, again, just another opportunity. I think that's like the 6th time that they've presented publicly with what's happening. One of the things I will do in a second, I want to go online and actually just walk through for the viewing audience how you get to this information on the website, because I've had several questions lately from people, so I want to kind of walk people through getting that. I believe it was at the August 18th and 19th school committee meeting, whichever that third Tuesday in August was, I forget the date, where we actually identified that modulars at the individual classrooms was going to be our preferred solution. So all of the documentation is actually online pertaining to that, but we can actually, if we have the school committee meeting the first Tuesday in October, Dorr and Whittier comes and makes a presentation for us. Whatever information is actually made available that night, we certainly, even for the town meeting reps, one of the things I was planning on doing was putting some kind of a cover communication together for them. And we have an email distribution list. When it even came time for like spring budgeting and things like that, we had a notice we sent out to them. So we could send them all a copy of the plan if we want to, or at least a link to the website, so that if they want to access the plan ahead of time, it would all be there. But we would add it as another element on our website.
I think the concern is because they're separate from the buildings, parents are feeling, oh, there's no bathroom, the kids are going to be walking back and forth, and they're sitting ducks because it's a separate building from the main building. So I think that those are probably areas that we need to address as far as communication in detail.
Just a quick follow-up on the siting of the modulars. So I was kind of under the impression in August that those were recommended but not yet finalized locations. That
Correct.
So there'll be one more look at them. Can we expect the presentation in October to be the proposed final locations and have been reviewed by, DPW, the
Right.
fire department, the police?
By October, that's for the October meeting, it's probably not possible. When we actually talked today, we have the diagrams that kind of showed tentatively where they would go. And we knew we had to get the 3 to 4 classrooms to each particular building. One of the things that we need to do is actually now go through the process of hiring a designer to come on and actually kind of design the classrooms, do all of the surveying of the land. Someone is going to have to go and actually see what's underground, where we're planning on putting these modular classrooms. So at the next school committee meeting, we discussed this in working session today, to speed up that timeline, because we are going to be under an incredibly tight timeline. We're actually going to bring forward a recommendation to issue like an RFR or an RFP to bring the design firm on in anticipation of the town meeting vote, because we have about 3 weeks of just public notices that have to happen before you would even receive proposals and actually open and evaluate proposals. So we want, if town meeting approves this in October, to be able to immediately enter into that contract with a designer to start the work. And that work would actually take place site by site between, October and probably December, because then the final bid documents would have to be prepared during January and early February. And we would hope to go out to bid latest around February 1st to be able to actually try and pull this off onto that tight timeline.
To bid for the modulars themselves. you're
Correct.
saying. Have you got a ballpark estimate of what this design work would cost and
Well, it's been
line item for it?
it's included within the 7.9 million. I do not have the breakdown of that right now, but that was a soft cost that was within the 7.9.
Okay.
Because there's going to be designer services, there's going to be some type of project management services you're going to need around the construction, some kind of construction management services. So that was all included in the 7.9.
Has it been
So
decided?
that can't be done until
We decide where to put it.
town meeting approves.
Right.
Right.
But what I want to do is at least start the process, because you've got to advertise in Central Register and get your newspaper advertisements going. So if we can get that all out of the way in early October, once we get that town meeting vote, we're at least going to pick up 2 or 3 weeks. So we're going to try to have a recommendation to you for that meeting in October. And then they'll also review the timeline. And we're doing some kind of soft walks over the next month of the sites to just kind of see above ground, spatially, how things could fit. But they are going to have to do some of the in-ground exploratory work to figure out, particularly those separate classrooms are the ones that concern us, with the bathrooms and trying to accommodate plumbing and electrical and all of that. It's much easier to just attach them to the existing structure.
Just a comment I wanted to make. I think Barbara and I follow social media pretty closely and just kind of see the comments. And there's one thing I think that really stands out that needs to be spoken of often, is that we are doing this within the town budget. This is not going to a debt exclusion. It is not going to an override. I hear a lot of that. I hear a lot of people say, well, these Prop 2.5s never go away. And I think it's okay to challenge people and say that this is not the vehicle that we're going to fund full-day kindergarten with. And as a matter of fact, the town is actually giving tax relief back to the residents of the town. So we're not taking away from anybody for these children. There's some other things that I hear too. I hear things like full-day kindergarten is daycare, which is not true. It's education. And I think these are the things we have to be aware of. We can't be afraid to push back a little bit and have these arguments in a friendly way with the community, because these are the things I see. I mean, I've seen some unbelievable arguments. This is the right time. This is it. This is serendipitous, the way this all came together. The way the assessments came in, the money came in, and I think this is supposed to happen. So the only other comment I want to make is I'm a little newer to the town, so I don't know these town meeting reps as well, but the people that you guys know well, and I know a few, and I know who my yes votes are, make sure you talk to them, and we know who's voting for what, and go out there and do the work and talk to them and tell them why this is important.
You know, John, what I think is also really important as we continue this conversation is we have members of the board, for example, Barbara, yourself, social media, but in particular, Barbara, I'm curious if we could create some kind of a groundswell with the PTOs.
Oh, certainly.
And have these PTOs, get there and reach out to our town reps, and let them hear it from moms and dads that are active. And I know someone like yourself, and I certainly apologize for putting you on the spot, but I don't think anybody on this board has
I
a
accept
better
the challenge.
Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome.
I think that's a big deal, Barbara.
Yeah.
It is a big deal.
And I'm doing a PTO meeting this week. I'm doing South Road next week, so I think
we'll
that's
be
a
on
great
it.
way.
I've taken a little challenge of myself with respect to social media, and I've connected with some people who I don't know, and just, said, let's meet for coffee. new people to town, and, I met someone Saturday. I went on a 5-mile walk today with someone I've kind of known for a long time, but don't really know her, just to talk about this kind of stuff, and what the heck. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be one-on-one, and I'll walk with whoever.
I'd love to consider doing a presentation at the senior center too,
Yep,
like in kind of a set aside.
yep.
But
Pack the room with little
Question.
kindergartners. They're so stinky.
It seems like it's been decided that the portables will be used for kindergarten, is that correct?
Well, that was another thing that came up in the conversations, and
Doesn't have to
it doesn't necessarily
Yeah,
have to be.
That's why
It's-
I asked the question. And I know there's some people who thought it was a stupid question,
No, but
No,
it's,
it's a
that's why
good-
I asked.
it's a
I
good
think the
question.
fourth graders would love it. Air conditioning,
I
their
think, I
last
think
year.
Jay answered that question perfectly. This is something that we're going to take a look at, and this is not just for full day K. We might take a look at fourth graders. We might look at some other grade that belongs in there, and maybe we decide that it's better off to have the full day K a little closer instead of going on the elements for a full day K. Maybe it might be easier for fourth graders. So I think you answered that perfectly. I came away crystal on that.
Good.
I bet your teacher's going to be fighting over the air conditioning, but that's just my opinion.
No, but building by building, they'll be able to make those decisions, and they can even change, in any given year if they need to reallocate spaces within buildings, or you get little bubbles and things like that. So, no, that certainly is in play.
Do you think it's important, Jay, and you touched upon it last night, Dr. Lang, that because we talked about excess capacity. I know one of the questions is, that we have in some schools, in hallways, it might not be unusual to find a teacher or an aide conducting some kind of education component in the hallway. We've all talked about that. Everybody knows about it. But would it be safe to say there will be some excess capacity in the pods that will be able to alleviate some of the problems that we have in these elementary schools? Is that a safe assessment, or am I off base?
No, I think in the short term, that is a real possibility. Because one of the members last night asked, why are we adding, say, 3 modulars as opposed to 2 in the schools? Because on the short term, some of the projections indicated we just needed 2 extra classrooms. But we're looking at the 10-year projection, because we don't want to put a solution in place that's going to be the 5 or 10-year solution and then come up short classroom space. So in the short term, in some schools, there may actually be, if this goes forward, an extra flex classroom that could be used for some kind of a pull-out service or things along those lines. In any given year, like in this year, we can't predict this. Like, the enrollment projections we have are basically looking at kindergarten students across the district. But we don't look at, kindergarten students based on enrollment, just at South Row or just at Byham. So a school coming out of the gates might actually need to have an extra section of kindergarten based on need and demand, and another school may not. So there will be some play. I just can't tell you, or some flex space. I just can't tell you where it's going to be yet until we actually enrolled students and got the program off the ground.
Dr. Lee, I don't know if everybody in the room or our town reps or the community need to know exactly where that space will be, other than to be able to say there will be some flex space as a result of these modulars. So not only are we doing full day K, there'll be opportunities to alleviate in some schools some of the problems we have. That was a question and a point made last night, and I think that would go a long way with our town reps to know, hey, listen, we might not be solving all the problems of the space immediately, but this also, in addition to full day K, solves some of these problems with these kids, potentially in hallways.
Right.
Would that be a safe statement?
Yes, it's safe to say that, and again, we just don't know where, but certainly we'd be going in that direction. And I think the other thing that, is not lost on me is, again, this was still our short-term solution
That's right.
under the larger comprehensive plan. And if we're thinking 5, 10, 15 years down the line, and there's a longer-term solution, then these classroom spaces are going to add some significant
Yes.
wiggle room, some significant space at the elementary level, because now you're actually opening up, say, 3 classrooms, depending on the configuration we go with. So short-term, yes, I just can't tell you where, but in the long term, under the larger plan, yes, this absolutely would create some good workable space, some flex space within the elementary schools.
Do we agree, and I apologize, I'm not looking for a vote, sir, Mr. Chairman, all I'm looking for is a consensus. Wouldn't it be a good idea to also articulate that on the short term, this is the benefit, and also on the long term, because I think I think we're just concentrating, people here, full day K, full day K. They
Right.
don't know, well, guess what's going to happen? When Doran Whittier comes back and says, you need a new high school, well, these pods aren't gonna go to waste. We're gonna need them anyways.
Right.
So I just think the more information and the benefits of these pods, not only in the short term, but the long term, I think will make people feel a lot better. Tell me if I'm wrong. you
No,
know,
I agree with
push
you,
back.
100%.
I mean, walking these schools with the facilities committee, it just it changes your whole
That's exactly right.
perspective.
If we brought
the
every one of
situation.
those town reps
On
into
a
our
tour.
schools, we wouldn't even be having a vote.
No, we wouldn't have to have this discussion. You
It'd
could-
be unanimous.
Yeah, I think that it was absolutely enlightening for me. There is no way that these pods will ever be empty and collecting dust. There will be no cobwebs in these spaces. We will always be able to find a use for them. It's unbelievable.
Just a couple of things. As we go forward, and I think this is really more about next year's budgeting than anything else, but you mentioned that the town manager would also be able to make some money available on a recurring basis for the operational costs. I think we still need a really good breakdown of what those costs are gonna be. I don't think we've seen a really solid projection yet. So while that's not something that I think needs to be done in the next week or two, please don't take your eye off the ball on that one. The 800,000 number gets thrown around a lot, but I'd like to see that pursued a little bit further. The other thing is, as Sal noted, a major component of this report from Doran Whittier is going to be maintenance and repairs.
Correct.
And that's also going to have to be accounted for in the budget. And we're gonna have to have further discussions about that. I think that the town manager and his team have created a really good situation here for us. They're being extremely generous. I don't think it's gonna be sufficient to address everything that's going to be brought out by this Doran Whittier report, and that's gonna be an ongoing challenge for us. The last thing, John, you mentioned it was serendipity. Sal,
Serendipitous.
you also mentioned that it was fortuitous that this came out at this time. I'll just say that fortune favors the prepared, and I'd like to congratulate the town manager and his team for putting us in a place where we could take advantage of this serendipity.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I agree.
Just want to take 1 second for the viewers at home. If you do go to the Chelmsford Schools website, and you click under District, and then you click under Central Administration, the third tab down is Comprehensive Facility Assessment, and you can click on this from really anywhere you want to. You see the notice of our last facility meeting, but on the far right, there's the Documents and Files section, and when you click on that, it's a listing of all of the different reports and presentations that Doran Whittier have made all in one location, so anyone from the viewing audience can go and find out. We have the PowerPoint slide from Visioning Session 1, and then a Findings and Outcome document from 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up, and then you have copies of each of the public presentations. And the very latest one was that, is the date, August 16th meeting that the school committee had. So the information is all right on the website for people to be able to access.
Can we put it back on the first page, though, on the
Can we go to the
homepage?
front? I want it as front as possible.
Yeah,
Oh, like a link off the front page?
right on
Yeah,
the
right on the
district homepage.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll figure out a place over here to put it. But I just wanted to share with you that information is up on the website in case people ask, and we can direct them right to it. So,
And just so the committee knows, I'm writing an op-ed for, as long as I get permission, I gotta talk to them first, but Elena's getting me contacted Lowell's son, so the week before town meeting I'll be doing, so maybe Linda can help me edit, or Barbara, because I know you guys both like to edit, so.
Mike likes big words, too.
Like Mike
Let me
used
throw
serendipitous
serendipity
stuff.
around. And
I just said
I'm
that. I
happy.
beat you.
I'm just a happy man.
okay, so I'll follow up on those few
Yes, sir.
items, and, but I thought it was a really productive meeting last night, and hopefully we're in good shape for the fall.
I'd just like to mention that I was out of town. And that's why I wasn't able to attend, and otherwise I would have been there. I don't want anybody to think I took the night off.
No. Who thinks that?
Next item up on the agenda is my performance evaluation from last year, 15-16.
All right, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to explain the process that was undertaken in doing this and how we came to the conclusions that we did. All the members of the committee were asked to fill out a document that evaluates the superintendent according to 4 different standards. And those standards are instructional leadership. That would mean that he has a role in making sure that curriculum and instruction and evaluation is set at a high standard. I think most of us had a little bit of trouble with that because in a large district, obviously the assistant superintendent he has a lot of responsibility in that area, but the superintendent, works very closely with that person to make sure that the most important thing that schools do, and that is educate students, that he is playing a major role in that and being supportive in every way that he can. The second standard is management and operations. That's clearly the administrative role that the superintendent has. The third, family and community engagement. He's the superintendent here and everywhere else is constantly being placed in a position to communicate with organizations, with the town side of government, with families, with students, all of the people that are affected by education in the town, and that's an area that takes place. And finally, standard 4 is professional culture. That has a lot of implications. I guess a phrase that's thrown around a lot is high expectations, but that's really, for the superintendent, a key thing. If you have a survival mentality, that you don't get very far. But if you're planning for the future and building and creating and being excited, then you have the right kind of culture. And in structuring things, it also would involve, on the HR side, making sure that quality people are recruited and got brought into our system, and that in-service opportunities are provided for the teachers as well as administrators. So that gives you some idea of the kinds of the 4 standards that were involved. And each of us was asked to rate the current superintendent as to the level of his achievement in those areas. The beginning, if you will, standard is unsatisfactory. If he received that grade, he or she would not be achieving the level of work that we expect or the state expects, just not cutting it. Needs improvement and developing. We all have areas that we're not as strong in. Good administrators find people to help them with those areas. I felt that I knew they had some things when I was involved in administration that I didn't do well, so I got some pretty good people to cover up for me. So, there are a lot of ways of dealing with it, strengthening yourself or bringing in people that have the expertise that you need to be successful. Then there's proficient, and that doesn't mean it's just okay. That means that they're achieving at a level that will bring our district forward. And then finally, exemplary. Significantly achieving in these various standards above what most people would expect. And so we all did our evaluation, and then John and I got together and went through and came up with overall picture in those areas. And so what we ended up with was the following, and that is in the area of instructional leadership. Wait a minute, I'm looking at this right. That was an exemplary, right? Yeah.
No,
that one is
proficient.
Oh, I'm sorry, wrong column. Proficient. Well, we had both. So that's proficient. Then management and operations was exemplary. Family and community engagement was proficient. and professional culture was exemplary. And so the overall ranking was exemplary. And, you know, we brought Superintendent Lang in as being recommended as the best candidate in Massachusetts, and I think he's proved that. Then after we got that done, John and I played with some language to come up with a paragraph that kind of explains the position of the committee. And after he shares that with us, then we'll have an opportunity for the individual members of the committee to share any additional thoughts. So, John, you want to share what we came up with?
Sure, and just so everybody knows, these came out of your, this summary came out of the comments that in your specific evaluation. So we took something from everybody. The Chelmsford School Committee has rated Superintendent Lang's performance during the 2015-16 school year to be exemplary. We found him to be knowledgeable, creative, effective, and hardworking. He has accomplished a variety of significant goals. He has instituted a new structure for custodial services, which resulted in cleaner schools. He has started a comprehensive facility study to create space for kindergarten and plan for future building needs. And he has made the administration and school committee more transparent and has improved relations with the town. In summary, Dr. Lang has been an excellent addition to the Chelmsford School District, and we look forward to working him in the upcoming years. That's it.
Working with him.
With him.
Yeah. We could work him, though.
I didn't get to have anybody edit it.
Excellent.
Who doesn't love John?
I'd just like to start by adding just a couple of comments. As chair, I work pretty closely with the superintendent, and he came in with a lot of challenges. Some challenges carried over from earlier years, and some brand new. And as we saw when he turned in his report at the last meeting, he was able to accomplish a tremendous number of things in both of those areas. It wasn't just in financial change where changes were made, but in a number of areas to strengthen the district. And I'm personally very pleased with the way things are going, and I feel that the district is in good hands. And I'm glad to hear from anyone else that would like to speak.
Go ahead.
I'm the toughest grader, so, you know.
You think?
Yeah,
She was?
I am.
She
And
was?
I don't apologize for it. We've discussed my concerns, and I think everyone should have some goals, you know, to work on. And I think just to give someone all exemplaries does not help Dr. Lang. So I was tough, and we discussed
That's an interesting
it.
perspective.
Well,
Yeah, I'm more that way. I think it's very difficult to be exemplary in your first year.
absolutely.
I think as we go forward, we need to tighten up our process a little bit. This was unusual. We did talk at the beginning of the cycle about the fact that you were a first-year superintendent, and so we weren't going to go kind of by the book. That said, I think we as a committee can do a little bit more structured job as we go forward. I think it's important to have a mid-year review as we go forward. Once your goals get set, I think it's going to be important for us to do that. And that is a big part of becoming a high-functioning district. Just to kind of go through the standards, instructional leadership, I had you rated proficient for everything. I think instructional leadership was the one where I had the most concerns. I like the presentations that you've begun. Bringing people in helps make sure that everybody understands what's being done in the district. It's a form of setting expectations and providing accountability. I think that's a very good thing. I think, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later, we need you to be more hands-on going forward in the instructional leadership of the district. For management and operations, I think that was the place where for me you were closest to earning an exemplary rating. It has been a non-stop just one thing after another since you've come in, and you've done an excellent job of dealing with an awful lot of it. There are certainly places where things didn't go exactly as planned or completely smoothly, but you've dealt with an awful lot. You've done a good job, and if you keep meeting that kind of level of performance, I think that could be that might be an exemplary rating. For the family community engagement, looking at the rubrics, it really focuses heavily on your outreach to families. I haven't seen so much of that, but I haven't had complaints or gotten any feedback that you're not doing that well either. I personally think that you need to also grow a little bit in your outreach to the town side as well, whether that, I think your relationship with the town manager is good. I think that needs to be maintained and strengthened as you both remain in that position. I think one of the things that was suggested to me when I was calling your references was that you're very good at kind of having an understanding of all the different tribes, and understanding how they interact, what their values are, what their goals are. I think that's something you need to continue to grow in here in Chelmsford. It's just a different set of tribes, and you'll be more effective as you continue your growth there. So even though that doesn't really meet the rubric, I think we talk about going forward, that's an important thing. And finally, professional culture. I think it's been a good start. You are doing a good job of putting your team together. I think at some point, and we're close to it, the main focus needs to switch from being assembling the team into running the team, and it, not that I think that there's been a problem with that. It's just a little bit different set of challenges, and I'll be interested to see how that plays out over the next years. But I do like what you've done so far. The other thing that I wanted to do was to talk a little bit about your professional practice goals, which is part of the assessment proper as written by the state, which it is in your contract that we have adopted that in its entirety. We didn't talk about it much explicitly here, but when you look at the some of the bullet points that you laid out in your entry plan, they align pretty well with the categories as professional practice goals. For the professional practice goal, the comprehensive assessment, I would rate that as a significant progress there. It's not quite done, and it's something that has kind of slid a little bit as we go on. That said, I don't think it's a serious concern, because looking at the product, looking at the output of that group, it's been fantastic. And so, while it's not entirely complete, I have no real reservations about where that is. For the district improvement goal, your review and response to the Melanson and Heath reports, the Masbo reports, and the Powers and Sullivan recommendations, I have you as either met or exceeded expectations there. You're supposed to pick one or the other. You're pretty much right on the border, and it could easily be exceeded expectations. That was a huge part of what you did coming in, and it was something that this district needed leadership on, and you provided it. That was really good. The third was the student learning goal, which I aligned with your review and assessment of the 5-year plan, and there's been no real significant progress there. And this is where I think we need more from you in the next year. Again, some of this is just the facts on the ground as you come in. We were in a crisis, and you've been putting out a lot of fires. But we didn't hire you to be a business manager. We need you to be a superintendent, and to drive this district forward. I still think reviewing and assessing the 5-year plan is an appropriate way to go forward with that. It's time to do it, and it'll be a way for you to kind of put your stamp on the progress in the district. I will say I have some concerns about where we are with the academic achievement of some of our subgroups, and I think it's an area that really needs you as a superintendent to take a strong hand in. And we need to have a serious discussion over the next year about what we're going to do about some of this stuff, because I think there are things we can do, and I think it's time to get going on that. Thanks.
I just wanted to comment. I did give you exemplary on a few of the items. I'm not going to go into as much detail. The one thing that I got out of this year, and this is new for me, so I only came in at April, and it's been kind of a roller coaster for me, and I can't imagine what it's like to actually have to do this day to day. But I want to say what I felt and what I got out of it was momentum. It's a momentum year, and there's a lot of good things about to happen. Next year, we get to judge you on implementation if they do get voted through and all of that. And in terms of management, I was really just always impressed with the people you brought on, the way you manage the money, the way you, we can change this position because we don't need it as much to bring in this position, which we need more for the English coordinator and things like that. So overall, I did rate you on 2 of them as exemplary, and but it's sprinkled out. And I think the only thing that I would look at for improvement is community communication. So how do you talk to the community? How do you talk to parents? You're a very matter-of-fact guy, and sometimes I think you leave the emotion out of it, which is probably good most times, but I think there's some things that are very emotional for parents, me included. I mean, I've come to you with things that I see, and they make me emotional because I'm clearly an emotional person. So, but overall, like I said, I gave you 2 exemplaries, 2 proficients, and I really agree with the fact that we should have both a mid-year review, and I also think we should set some specific goals to make sure that you're able to meet the things that we want going forward. That's all I have.
I respect, appreciate, admire my colleagues. I look at you from a different lens. Why do I look at it a little differently? I run in the private sector a little bit. I run my own organization. I know what it is to be the CEO of a company. I know what it is to be the CEO of a company that potentially has 1,000 employees. I know how many employees you have. I've never been a fan of telling somebody if they've done an unbelievable job, you can do better. I'm a fan of leadership matters. I'm a fan to look somebody in the face and say, you have a specific job, a specific role, we brought you in, and get the job done. And when they get it done, I'm a fan of letting them know you got the job done. Now, this is my humble opinion. This is not me placating, I'm not on a soapbox. All I know is this. When I talked to MASC about Jay Lang prior to us introducing him to the board, this is what was said. Jay Lang will not be available in the next 2 weeks. He will be the most sought-after superintendent in the state. There is no way Chelmsford is going to end up with Jay Lang. And let me tell you something. His salary, and it's public knowledge, will start with a 2, Mr. Lapoli. So what made Jay Lang come to this town of Chelmsford? Because he saw an opportunity to improve a district. Let's not forget what a difference a year makes. Because I can remember when I got on the board just over a year ago, for the reasons I got on the board, because our town was in a crisis. Heck, we were in the red almost $1 million. What a difference a year makes. I got on the board and I wanted to make sure that our schools were safer. Jay Lang got on, and under his watch, CEO of a $55 million company. Now you can say it's not a company, they're kids. I'm going to tell you, when you get to his level, you have to have an understanding of what it takes to keep things together when you have $55 million under your watch. And under his watch, what happened? We're not in the red anymore, are we? As a matter of fact, you could almost say you're in the black. What a difference a year makes. Under his watch, are the schools safer? Well, I can tell you this, for years, the police department, and when I sat down running for this position, I talked to the police department, the chief, and he said, Sal, all I want to do is make the school safer. I just want access to all the cameras. God forbid there's an incident like the Columbine. I want to be able to throw a switch on and know exactly what's going on in every one of my schools. Under Jay's watch, we have a safer school. That happened today. Now, can anybody on this board take credit? Can anybody in the school district take credit? When you run a company, or you're the CEO, or you're the head of a district, under your watch that happened, you deserve the credit. Now, he has the opportunity to disseminate that credit to his people within his organization, but under his watch, your schools are safer. Under his watch, there's never been more transparency, and if I hear one more parent tell me how transparent we are compared to yesteryear, and I'm going all the way back. I'm going to all the way back when Dr. Mosier was here, the level of transparency. This town has never been, with the school district, the tri-board meetings, the selectmen, the town manager, through his own words, we've never been this transparent. Under your watch. Under your watch, never have we been this close to full day K. Say the stars lined up, say anything you want, but who deserves the credit? Full day K could take place under your watch within just over a year. We've been trying to do this for how many years now? That was one of the reasons I got on the board. Innovative ideas? Well, I think under your watch, never has an assessment been done to understand what's going on with our schools, years to come, the condition of our schools, or what this school town needs, this community needs for years to come. Under your watch, that's taken place. Our schools are cleaner under your watch. Doran Whittier is going to do an assessment. We're going to know exactly what this town needs over the next 10, 15, 20 years. Potentially brand new schools. Want to talk about compassion? I can specifically remember Dr. Lang expressing to us that the kids living in the hotels were going to, as of a certain date, which was immediately going to be prohibited from entering our schools anymore. It was Dr. Lane who said, not under my watch is that going to happen. So therefore, under his watch, what happened? There was a stay for those kids. They were allowed to finish the school year. That's true compassion. Just over a year. How quickly the year went by, and look what was done. Look at the team that was built, because under the old administration, when it came to an end, your departments were, I don't know how to describe this in any other adjective, that they were decimated. You had HR people leaving, you had business people leaving, managers leaving. You came in and steadied the ship. With your background in business, you were able to support that. Heck, even when we thought we had an unbelievable hiree and she left our organization, I can remember saying to you, Jay, are we going to have a problem? And you said, Sal, this is what I do. So that's the importance of having somebody with a business background to steady the ship. Anybody can lead when the ocean is calm. Anybody can do that. With all due respect, I can get a teenager to lead or drive the ship when the oceans are calm. Can you lead when the waves are crashing over the bow? Can you lead when there's confusion? You came in during a very confusing time and led us. So I respect and understand what the word proficient means. But I also respect and understand, and I'm not afraid to stand on the tallest mountain and say, under your watch, look what happened in 1 year. So why don't we, or why don't I specifically, be able to say, I'm not afraid to say, it's unbelievable. But I challenge you to do it even better. And because leadership matters, I know you'll rise to the occasion. But I've never been a kind of a negotiator to start low when somebody starts high and try to meet in the middle. I put my cards right on the table right away and say, if you want to do this deal, this is what it's going to take. We told you that right away. And within 1 year, look where we're at. I have no problem, like I said, repeating this over and over again, because I believe. So I hope you're not embarrassed, but I do challenge you to be even greater in year number 2. And you know something? Coming back to leadership matters, I got a pretty good idea that you'll excel and you'll surpass all our goals also. So, Jay, I'm not good at telling you did okay when you did great. I'm okay at telling you did great, but you can be better. Be better in year number 2. So with that, I apologize if it sounded a little bit over the top, but boy, oh boy, man, I can't find one person in this town to say that our school department, our school administration, the way we're going, from Principal Murray all the way down the line, what a difference a year makes, and it was under your watch.
I feel kind of mean following that. I feel awful.
No, you shouldn't,
But
because.
here, let me just
people-
tell you this.
The scales of justice.
I have a little different perspective because I have been in those buildings a lot, and I appreciate the work that Jay has done. We are so fortunate to have him. I want him to be the best superintendent he can be. I still see areas, operations and management, I think he's excelled, budget, he's excelled. There was a lot of healing that needed to be done, and it needs to be done in those buildings, and we talked about this. Jay needs to be in those buildings. He needs to visit those teachers. He needs to find out what's the word I'm looking for? What's the atmosphere in your building? Do you feel safe in your building? Obviously, there's a teacher at South Row who doesn't. We need to be on it. Does the chief of police have access to all those cameras yet? He does not. He wants it, but we're holding back on that. I want to know why. You know, those are the things, those are the little things that need to be connected. And those are the discussions I've had with Jay. So I think he's doing a terrific job, but he can be better and he knows it. So that's where I am.
I think what's important is this. I think everybody's entitled their opinion. I think what you say is the right thing for you. And I applaud you for expressing the challenges. What feels right for me is exactly the way I described it. And as far as, you know, the level of security and parents having some concerns, those are issues that are addressed on a day-to-day basis. Whenever you're the CEO or the president or in command of a particular division or operation, issues are going to be handled every single day. Problems are going to be presented every day. There's no way that somebody like Jay or Chairman Thomas or anybody on this board can foresee a problem and cut it off at the pass. The question is, when a problem arises, do we address it?
Exactly.
Do we take it seriously? And I think this board has the pleasure of having a superintendent and the staff. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget Dr. Hirsch, who's right to the right of him, who, without question, has gone through 2 superintendents and hasn't wavered from his side. So it's evident his leadership skills, just with the team that he's building and the support that he's getting. He's going to have those problems. How does he address those problems? As far as the schools being safer, I feel that this statement, that our schools are safer today than they were a year and a half ago. And who gets the credit? Not this board. Not this board. We're here to support him. Dr. Lang and his team on a daily basis, they're the ones that should be congratulated. So I'm just a big believer in the same respect, under his watch, with all due respect, there was chaos a year and a half ago. You know, there's a new superintendent. Why? People say, well, it wasn't all his fault. There was other people to be blamed. But under his watch, look what happened. He was the commander. That's why there was a change. So, unfortunately, the good also comes with the bad, because if Dr. Lang, if things were to go in a different direction, I would be able to say under your watch things aren't working out too well. So I agree with you, Barbara. I respect and understand it, and it works. And I think that's what makes great boards great, because we don't agree with each other, but in the end, we all agree on a decision.
But you know I could take you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So there we go.
Pay to see that.
Absolutely. But I could out-eat you.
Pay to see that.
Right now, you might be able to.
Yes.
As we wrap this up,
Can I just,
oh, sure. go
just,
ahead.
just quick in passing, and I don't want to belabor this. I very much appreciate your comments. I take them to heart and I take them seriously, and this is a learning process for me. It's only my first year being in the district. I coming in August, right prior to the start of the school year, just hit the ground running and just move, So I think it's been a productive year. I look forward to the second year being even better than the first. And I do touch on all the different things you've indicated. And, we've had private conversations over the course of the year, and so nothing really surprises me from the comments. And that is going to be a lot of our work going forward. So I very much appreciate the feedback, and it would go unsaid. I think we have accomplished a lot together, and this isn't just me, this is the school committee. But, to my right, Linda, who's been here supporting me for this first year, Joanna, who came on board just this summer to help us out, and the staff that aren't here tonight, but really, support me in central office and all the different departments. We really are assembling a good team who are going to make the district better in the years to come. And I couldn't do it without them. And your comments towards me are a reflection on the whole team's work. So we value that. We'll take that into consideration, and very much appreciate the work I do here with you in the district, and look forward to it to come in the years to come. So thank you.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept 2015-2016 school year end of cycle summative evaluation report for the Superintendent Lang as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion with regard to the motion? Do we need a roll call on this?
You don't need a roll call on that one. You can just do a voice vote, as long as no one dissents.
Okay. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any abstention or negative votes? Unanimous.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to award a performance bonus in the amount of $5,000 to the Superintendent Lang in accordance with the superintendent's contract of employment based upon the superintendent's overall performance evaluation resulted of a exemplary for the year 2015-2016 school year. A roll call will be needed for this vote, sir.
For a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions about the motion?
Let me just ask. What do you think about prorating it since Dr. Lang was not fully here in July?
Well, I think to push back on you, Dr. Lang, did you actually do some work prior to coming on board with us?
Yeah, I think
some weekends and some time that you weren't even working for us or on the payroll. Is that correct?
Well, my time in July was billed hourly because I hadn't I didn't come on salary until August, but I was nights and weekends through July. I was just being paid hourly.
Did you have to do that?
Did I have to do what?
Did you have to work nights and weekends prior to coming on board full time?
Boy, to make this transition as smooth as possible and to ensure the school year got started, I needed to.
Yeah, because you made that decision.
Right.
Yeah, but that wasn't part of the contract, was it, sir? That you had to work hourly in July?
I didn't have to start until August, but to get the job done, I had to come in early.
I think there's give and take and everything. To push back on you, Michael, I don't know if, I think we're splitting hairs if we look at $5,000. I think it sends the wrong message. I think what we should be doing is, let's pay this $5,000 and move on to the next project.
Anyone else have an opinion that I'd like to express?
I think we should just go for the bonus. I think prorating it over a couple weeks, I'm with Sal.
I appreciate that Mike brought it up.
I do.
I will agree with Sal and John.
I don't think Michael, and I apologize for putting words in your mouth, I don't know if Michael was, I think Michael was just bringing up an idea. I don't know if he's.
Yeah, I think you can make an argument that the way the contract's written, it's not for time served, it's for overall performance. And if the feeling of the committee is that that he did in 11.5 months what we're all excited about, then there's no reason to, as you say, to split hairs on it.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Aye.
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 Unanimous. I'd just like to, because Sal was so efficient in making a motion, I just wanted to make two more comments. And the main one is that whoever's chair next year, I think it's really important to have a meeting before the evaluation process begins. Because I think, having talked to some of you, that interpreting the different standards was somewhat different from person to person. I think that, some people didn't put comments on the paper, so that they weren't, there wasn't, this isn't meant to be critical of anyone, but that's, for me, looking at it, I won't speak for John, that was probably the most important part. And that's why we drew almost all the parts of our paragraph came from people's ideas. And also, it helps you to understand, like if someone doesn't, someone says there's need improvement in an area with no comment, then where are we? We don't have a clue. So I think that, and another thing, the nuts and bolts, okay? We found out that you can't put a comment on a line between proficient and exemplary. It has to be in the box. All those, whether it's just kind of setting the tone, agreeing on how things should be interpreted, or what the specific document needs to look like when we get it back. I think if whoever's chair and the members of the committee, I think if you spend like a half hour, or maybe even less than that, if everybody's on the same page, just going over how it's going to work, I think it'll come out with everyone's views more clearly expressed, I guess.
Excellent point, sir.
Okay, and the other thing that was on my mind, we don't have to wait until mid-year to tell Jay that something's really good or really bad. Or we don't have to wait until June to tell him either. And in fact, obviously, it would be much more fair to him to tell him so he could do something about it before June. So, those are a couple of things that I had for concerns. And now we can move on unless somebody else has something else. Okay, moving.
Okay. Thank you for that. Fourth item of the evening, I'd like, I'd like to invite Tom Wright from the high school up to talk about the Chelmsford High School reporting of class rank on student transcripts. Tom can review some information with you, and part of this is going to sound funny, but I wanted to put this on the agenda because we're actually going to be changing the way we're doing class rank at the high school, but we're actually changing it to be in accordance with what the current policy is. So we're actually, the practice that we're going to do to not have class rank be on the college transcript that goes out, that Tom will discuss the reasons for, the current policy in the handbook actually indicate that you're not supposed to, but we have been. But I know this could raise questions as seniors are getting ready to go to college and whatnot. It still can happen, but it actually has to be asked individually if you want it on the transcript as opposed to having to be across the board. So again, this is one technically you don't have to take a vote on because you're actually just going to adhere to the policy, but it was such a significant change and I didn't want you getting feedback or comments from people in the public or parents who had kids going through the process and wondering. So I just asked Tom to put a report together and I'd ask him to just kind of walk us through the rationale a little bit. Sure. And what you've learned from talking to some of the college admissions counselors about our current practice and how doing it this way is actually going to benefit Chelmsford kids more potentially than it had been in the past.
Certainly. So first, thanks for having me here. I agree with the students that the school's looking wicked good, and I don't mind going anymore either. Light joke. It's late. Anyhow, with that being said, just a quick asterisk to what Dr. Lane was just sharing with you. It's not that we would do anything improper, because annually we have families sign off on a transcript release form, and on that form it indicated, that GPA and rank was being shared with colleges, and then parents agree with it. The practice that's different is we're going to share GPA with colleges, and then we're informing families if they would like to request rank to be sent, then we can do that. Some schools do a blanket change. I don't think a wholesale change at the time is appropriate, nor is the existing policy supportive of that. So I guess what I'll do is I'll just share with you some basic information that I've received through both the National Association for College Admission Counseling as well as admission counselors. Annually, counselors will go to different workshops that are led by college admission folks. So we receive some straight from the mouth as good standard practices. And with that being said, last year we had the opportunity, we were invited by a Western Mass private school to attend their admission practices and just to get the opportunity to observe them and how they go about going through thousands of applications. And it was quite impressive on how they go through that. But at the end of the day, what he had shared with us is he had made some recommendations for our practice based on current trends, and that is, if you're going to be competitive with these prep schools, private schools in general, And even the bigger name schools in Massachusetts, for example, like, those in the DCL, Weston, Wayland, Lincoln, Sudbury, things of that nature. He said, Tom, they're not reporting rank. He said, you got to consider class size when it comes to the schools that that are applying. Kids are applying from a senior class where maybe one is a class of 100 and one is a class of 400. What looks better, 20 or 68? So with that being said, our movement to go in the direction of not reporting rank is simply out of the best interest of our students, based on national trend data that is reported by colleges and universities that they have to report on an annual basis and to the National Association. And as a direct result, the feedback from that senior associate admissions rep, as well as other information that we've kind of gathered anecdotally through, annually we have right around 90 to 100 admission representatives go through the Career Center at the high school to meet with students as they sign up to meet with them, and of course looking at other data from other schools. So that's the intention behind making that little adjustment. And certainly I will add too, counselors are familiar with what schools want. Like, for example, Yale requires rank. And so until we research more how other schools get around that, I would rather still continue to the schools that require rank to advise our students to follow that practice and report. Thank you.
Any questions?
We all look at Mike every time. We're all like, what's he got? I think it's a good change. I think a lot of thought was put into it, and I think knowing what the schools want, and it's a good change policy. Well, not change policy, but implementing it the right way. I do want to make a comment, though. So I actually know Mr. Wright. I've known him for a while now, and I do want to say that we need a Tom Wright show on Chelmsford Education Channel. It has to happen within the next few years, and I would really love to see it. So when you come back,
He has a show. The right stuff.
there you go.
Mayor Ronovan seems to clog the channels, so I also don't want to take any airtime away from him.
I'm just saying, I think it would be good. You have a good personality. You obviously care about kids, and you put a lot of effort into your work, and that's pretty well known around the district. So I think the right stuff should happen, and if you need a producer, Linda has just volunteered. So
Maybe we could talk to NKOTB about
Want it.
some trademarking.
there you go. That's the
Only under one condition.
What?
Will you be his Ed McMahon?
I'm done. I'm in. I'm so in on this. Let's.
Oh, it's going to be a screening process.
Yeah. I don't even get the shoe in.
Thank you.
No, thank you for bringing this stuff. It was good.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Tom.
Thank you very much, folks.
Here's Tom.
The right stuff.
it. And our fifth and final presentation of the evening, just to report, kind of report of progress. The community had entered into a contract several years ago between the town of Chelmsford, the Board of Health, and the school department for referral services for staff and families that are in crisis or need extra services. The town nurse, Sue Roser, actually forwarded over a report. We receive a report every 6 months just about families and residents who are actually utilizing this service. And she asked me to share that, and we thought it was a good opportunity where this is a paid service if people are in assistance or if they need counseling or different supports, as a way to start to kind of get the word out that this is there. So when we do receive the biannual reports, I'm going to put them on the agenda just so that the school committee can receive them. Just accept them as a report of progress, but just to try to get the awareness out there that we do have this interface referral service, that there is documentation on the town's website. The town nurses are very active in working and promoting and referring individuals to this service, and it is something that's available. So we just wanted to pass that along as the kind of the 6-month report.
We're paying like $20,000 for our share of this, is that right? Something like that?
No, this is a different position.
Oh.
The health educator is 20. This is, I believe, $12,000, of which we pay 4,000 or 5,000.
Wow, okay.
The town pays 4 or 5, and then I think the Board of Health, just because of size, pays like 2. So no, it's relatively a small amount of money for us, but it's a pretty good bang for your buck.
Yeah.
And again, it's a service that we're not going to get billed on based on utilization.
Right.
So, we really want to kind of start to push and promote this. We are going to work with Sue and some of the town and school nurses to just make this information readily available within the schools and to try to help our families be able, and staff, be able to access these services if they need it.
You know, maybe next time Ms. Rosa could come.
Sure.
And just kind of talk about like what the follow-up is. You know, so I see the number of calls, but I don't,
Like what the whole continuum of services looks like?
yeah, how
Sure.
they close the loop on things like that, if these are repeat calls or how they, you know, what, basically kind of on the services they provide. One of the notes was that there's a feeling that it may be underutilized.
Right.
And so if we can give a little bit more exposure to it, maybe that'll be helpful.
When you say next time, do you mean the next meeting or the next 6-month cycle?
The next 6-month cycle.
So
I
maybe
think,
around
is-
January, have her
Yeah,
come in
when
and
the
talk
next
about it?
report, when the next report's available.
Okay. And that was our last report of the evening.
Any liaison reports?
No, I do want to mention I'm going to be arrested on Saturday around 1 o'clock, and will be imprisoned on the Common, so if anyone wants to come and bail me out, I would appreciate it. Otherwise, my friends are just going to come and laugh at me.
Throw
So
tomatoes.
it's a jail and bail for a charity, I think the police are involved, something to do with Fall Festival.
What's the bail that you?
I don't know. I know I have to be in there for half an hour, and I don't,
Can we pay to keep you in?
I don't trust any of my friends.
Can we pay to keep you in?
See, that's the attitude that I would get
That's a
from my own
necessary
friends.
job.
Yeah.
So,
But I want to.
Charity, I would
in front
do
of public, be the first one to bail you out.
1 o'clock, please, on the
I have
Common.
to
be
go,
there.
can I just give you the money? to
No, you can't. That doesn't work that
Might
way.
You know what?
arrest you if you go, that's the
Sal,
problem.
Sal, just give us the money and we'll
Oh,
take care of
no.
it, don't worry.
Oh, no, those two guys are not giving any of my cash to.
They're arresting me at Brick House.
I
Okay.
will be there to bail you
All
out.
right, thank you. I
We can do
appreciate
committee
it.
reports.
Beg your pardon?
Can you do a committee report?
Yeah, sure.
This is just real quick. It's not really a committee. I'm actually going to be going to my first PTO meetings in the next couple days, in upcoming weeks. But I did want to point out, Byam School did their curriculum day, and it was a really great. And I know nobody here has younger kids, but it was a really great opportunity to go out and meet with the teachers. I kind of sat in the back and just observed, and teachers got to ask questions of the teachers. Mrs. Titches and Mrs. Marchand are my daughter's teachers. They do a great presentation, which they did talk about the floors, and you get to meet with all the specialists. And it was just a really good thing. And the next day, it's followed by Pride Day at Byam, which was a really great event. My daughter really looked forward to it. She got dressed up, and all the kids. So that was good news. And that's all. I just wanted to put that out. I was really pass on my thumbs up to Ms. Fredette. I really enjoyed that event.
Should we move to adjourn?
We can move to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.